We hear all the time about the power of AI, but what about in a place where security is everything, like a major government agency? Well, today we're going to look at exactly that. We're breaking down how the U.S. National Institutes of Health used secure AI to tackle a huge information overload problem they were facing.
Okay, be honest. Have you ever been in this situation? You're drowning in how do I questions at work. You need to find one specific policy or a user guide, and you're just lost. You end up clicking through a million folders or, just giving up and emailing the support team. Again. It's such a time suck, right? Now, just try to imagine that exact problem, but scaled up to a massive organization.
And when we say massive, we mean massive. The U.S. National Institutes of Health, the NIH, isn't just one big building. We're talking about a huge organization with 28 different institutes and centers, and each one has its own super complex policies for everything. Finance, travel, procurement, you name it. The sheer scale is just staggering, and finding one single correct answer in that sea of information, it's next to impossible.
So you can probably guess what happens next, right? With that kind of scale, you get this huge, overwhelming challenge, a literal sea of questions.
Let's break down what the NIH was really up against. First off, a super high volume of the same questions, over and over. Their support teams were just buried. At the same time, all the answers were technically there, but they were scattered across hundreds of different SharePoint documents. So for staff and researchers, it was like trying to find a needle in a digital haystack. Slow, super inefficient. And all this meant that valuable time was being wasted just trying to keep all this knowledge up to date. It's a classic bottleneck, right? You have all the info, but you just can't get to it. So what was the solution? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. They brought in an AI business assistant. And I want to be clear here, this wasn't about replacing people. Not at all. It was about giving them a much, much smarter tool to work with. Okay, so here's what they did. The Office of NIH Business Systems rolled out a chatbot, and this one was built on H2O.ai's H2O GPT. But here's the really brilliant part. They didn't make everyone learn a new system or go to some separate website. Nope, they put it right inside the tool everyone was already using, their SharePoint intranet. They met their people right where they were. Super smart. Now, this AI assistant had some seriously cool features. It could ingest and index everything, all the user guides, the slide decks, the policies, but a few things really made it a game changer. First, trust. Every single answer it gave came with a hyperlink right back to the original source document, so you knew you could trust it. It was also context-aware, so it could remember your previous questions for follow-ups. But maybe most important for a government agency, it had role-based security baked right in. It knew who you were and what you were allowed to see, honoring all of the existing user permissions. That's huge. And that brings us to what is, honestly, the most critical piece of this whole puzzle: security. For an organization like the NIH, it's not just a feature, it's everything. It's non-negotiable. And that's where the air-gapped advantage comes in. This is the secret sauce. So you might be hearing this term, air-gapped, and wondering, what on earth does that mean? It's actually a really simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. An air-gapped system runs completely 100% inside an organization's own private network. There is literally no connection to the public internet, none. That means your data, your questions, your documents, they never leave the building, digitally speaking. It is the absolute gold standard for data security. Okay, let's take a quick look at how this all fits together. It's actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, the chatbot is right there in the SharePoint intranet. Step 2, the AI model, the H2O GPT, is hosted inside their own secure network. This means Step 3, that all the traffic, every question and every answer stays inside that secure air-gapped bubble. And Step 4, the bottom line, no external connections needed, ever. This is exactly how they were able to check all the boxes for the toughest federal security controls. All right, so the tech is secure, it's smart, but did it actually make a difference? You bet it did. Let's talk about the transformation, the real measurable impact this thing had. The results were pretty incredible, and they came fast. We're talking about 8,000 NIH users getting self-serve answers right when they need them. That translates to about 10,000 service requests a year that just disappear from the support queue. But the numbers don't even tell the whole story. The real impact was on the people. The support teams were suddenly freed up to focus on the bigger, more complex problems, the higher value stuff, instead of just being a human FAQ machine. Plus, you get standardized, consistent answers every time. I really want to pause on that number for a second. 10,000. Think about what that means. That's 10,000 times a year that a researcher or a staff member got an answer instantly instead of filing a ticket and waiting. And on the flip side, that's 10,000 interruptions that the support team didn't have to deal with. When you think about it that way, it's an absolutely massive, game-changing win for productivity. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Listen to what the director at the NIH's Office of NIH Business Systems had to say. They said by deploying H2O.ai's H2O GPT inside our air-gapped environment, we delivered a secure generative AI assistant, freeing our team to concentrate on mission-critical improvements instead of repeating FAQs. I mean, that really says it all, doesn't it? So let's zoom out. What's the big takeaway from all this? Well, this isn't just a cool story about one government agency. This is basically a blueprint for the future, a roadmap for any big organization struggling with the same kind of problems. So why does this whole thing matter so much? Well, for a few key reasons. First, and this is a big one, it proves that you can use powerful generative AI and still meet the absolute strictest security mandates. Security comes first. Second, look at the speed. This wasn't some project that took years to complete. We're talking about a solution that was built and integrated in just a few weeks. That's incredible value, incredibly fast. And finally, it's a proven model. The NIH has basically laid out the playbook for any other large organization that's drowning in its own institutional knowledge. So the NIH cracked the code on the never-ending how do I problem. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Now that we know secure internal AI is not just possible, but a proven reality, what's the next big internal challenge it's going to solve? What could it do for your organization? That's something to chew on.